Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! ISB!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! And Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Oh, hello, everybody. How are you? Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. It's May 3rd. We're moving on into spring. Appreciate you being with us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. You know, we're powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just go to AndyMooreHonda.com to get more to your door and the best in new and used vehicles. Also, the great family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area, Endeavor Hospitalities, places like BB's Market with their custom bakery, custom products, custom meats, and coming soon, the Butcher's Cut, a new steak restaurant, just amongst one of many in the Endeavor family. How's everybody doing? Great show on board today. As usual, Bob Kravitz from The Athletic will join us. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. You know him from all over, actually. But I'm worried, John, do we think that Rick probably doesn't listen to the show beforehand? I'm pretty certain, right?
That's a good question. It wouldn't surprise me if he listens maybe 10 or 15 minutes before, but I don't think he'd be listening right now.
Yeah, so we've got a special guest on today as well, which only those of you that are listening live, I guess, does it matter to, but hopefully we're just keeping the surprise. Dyer Miller, former Major League pitcher and instructor coach for looks like nearly over 2 decades, almost 2 decades with the Cardinals, I think, but also with the White Sox. So got a lot of crossover going here. And not only that, spent a lot of time in Louisville with the Louisville Redbirds, who at the time were the AAA team for the St. Louis Cardinals. So lots of crossover, especially with Rick. We both are very familiar with the Louisville Redbirds, but he is also a White Sox fan. So there's all that. So looking forward to that. How's everything going? Yesterday, I think we noted it was sent out IU basketball in the Final Six for Jonathan Powell. He's a teammate of Gabe Cupps, FYI, for those of you that don't know. The college football playoffs were released. It was actually, I think, late in the day before. Have to pull those back up. The NBA playoffs are rolling. Are you watching? Is anyone watching? You have a team that's going still. The NHL, that's still there's so much that's happening, and there's fans of everything, but everyone's not a fan of everything. So, but we try to bring a little bit of everything to you. John Boy, have you watched anything? What's Derby? What's happening with Derby, by the way?
Funny that you asked. Yesterday they had 5-0 Tuesday, which is a new day for the locals down at the track. Obviously, years ago that used to be the Oaks.
Oh my God! Wow. So wait a minute. The Oaks were just, not only were they relegated and shamelessly kicked to the curb to Thursday. Now, and they probably named that Derby, I bet. Someone came up with that, not some marketing genius. Then Wednesday was really a lot easier. I think that Wednesday's getting full, and now you've got what? Taco Tuesday?
They called it. Well, they called it. So it's a pretty unique name. Maybe it may have been specific to this year because yesterday was not only so with the name 5-0 Tuesday. Obviously, the 502 is the area code for Louisville, the Louisville area.
Right.
Not only that, yesterday was Tuesday, so you can call it 5-0 Tuesday, but it was also May the 2nd, 502. So you had three different things going for you with that name. So I thought it was pretty clever. But all the races were named after different localities, former localities that are no longer around in the Louisville area, like Lynn's Paradise Cafe, Tiger Toy, or Toy Tiger, excuse me.
Tiger
Toy. I said it back. Toy Tiger.
Oh, there was a few
others.
Tiger Toy. There was probably a few Tiger Toys in that place.
Oh, yeah. The Galleria. What else was there? A few others I don't know off the top of my head. But one thing that really stood out, we were listening in on some of the races during one of the afternoon shows I was doing yesterday. And one of the horses' names, I wish I had this clip pulled up. I don't even know where I would find it. But one of the horses' names was Mr. And listening to the announcer call that race and say that horse's name, and he sounded out every M that was in that horse's name. It was one of the most, I don't know if you want to call it cringy or funny, but this guy really let it be known that this horse's name was Mr. And it was almost uncomfortable to listen to, but it was still funny at the same time.
That sounds uncomfortable. There have been some great calls in the annals of horse racing. We will relive those Friday, but none greater than our very own Kirk Haston, Captain Kirk, the governor. On this very show, it's been, gee whiz, 4 years. 4 years.
This is 2023.
This will be the fifth year.
There you go. The ballad of Hoof-Hearted.
Oh my goodness, yes, but not till Friday.
Oh yeah,
it's an annual. It's a once a year annual special. And I may have to see if I can get Kirk on.
It'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yes. That's you mentioned trying to do it again. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? That's something you don't do twice. Especially I tease him, call him the governor, because I think that he's someone that could absolutely be that if he ever wanted to be, because he is very intelligent, down to earth, educated, smart. He reaches the common person, but can talk to anyone. So he's just another guy that could be whatever he wants. But the governor. But yeah, let's see if we can get him on and what else we can get into. But looking forward to talking to Bobo Kravitz today. There's been a lot going on with the hockey, a lot of firsts, and more that happened last night in a game between the Kraken. Boy, the Kraken, they're still involved. The Kraken and the Dallas North Stars. The Kraken had they scored 4 goals, but the Dallas North Stars had a guy get a hat trick and score 4 goals. A single guy. But the Kraken scored 5. But that was a wild one. This has been a wild hot. This has been I don't know if it's this season, and I'll ask Bob, but this seems to be kind of different, a different hockey season. More I don't want to say competitive, but more engaging for the fans. You got these 7-game series, all these firsts, the hat trick last night, a 5-4 goal game. A lot going on. Still waiting on who's going where. Visits this weekend, basketball-wise. Mr. Mbako expected in Bloomington.
Mr. Mbako also just scheduled a visit for Louisville. He didn't have one scheduled until yesterday, but it'll be the visit after Indiana.
Yeah, I sent that. I tweeted that out yesterday. Is he visiting like immediately afterwards, date-wise?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know it's pretty immediate.
Reason I say that, is because he just for proximity. But Louisville's done a good job. Louisville's done an incredible job. We'll talk to Rick about that, but they've done a hell of a job of pulling guys in for a team that was as crappy as they were last year. A team that had as bad a season, I should say, correctly. For a team that's had a season as bad as they did, man, they are pulling in the recruits and the transfers. They're not looking bad. And everybody's giving them a look, more importantly. You're getting looks. It's all you can ask if you're Kenny Payne. Man. I mean, I'm surprised.
I don't know if it's the NIL dollars flowing in, because I know they have a whole lot of Adidas money. One of the biggest, actually, maybe the biggest Adidas contract in college sports.
Do they still have that?
No, they still do. They do. I promise.
Because I know there was a whole bunch of lawsuits flying and the all that stuff. I mean,
they
I
still
know
get the most Adidas money, believe it or not. Yeah, but I mean, they pulled in Dennis Evans. He's a 5-star who was initially committed to Minnesota. They brought in Sky Clark, who's transferring in from Illinois, kind of unproven.
I think that, and I tell you what, I'll be honest with you, that now that you say that, and I don't mean this in a nefarious way, it's all legal. I think that I could imagine, I could see, and I could understand Adidas wanting to help Louisville get back on their feet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do.
Because they're their number one brand, if that's true, as far as how much they pay. So their number one brand needs to be on point. And B, maybe they feel some responsibility about what happened to Patino, to Louisville, to the program, to the community, to all of that. They damn sure bared responsibility. So it's a way to make up for it. And because Adidas is also doing NIL deals with athletes themselves. So that could be a double hit, in a positive way in getting an athlete. And if so, Indiana needs to say, hey, how about a little something, for the effort.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. I'm not really sure
what the Caddyshack reference, John.
Oh, well, again, went over my head. I wish I knew. The first time I'd ever heard about Caddyshack, this will probably embarrass you, Jim. I went inside a Raising Cane's.
No, it's going to embarrass you.
Oh, well, I don't mind. I'm a walking embarrassment, and that's fine. I went into a Raising Cane's restaurant, fast food restaurant, when I was in high school. And in Raising Cane's, they always have a bunch of old school movie posters sitting next to the booths and stuff. And one of them that we were sitting right next to was the Caddyshack poster. And that is the first time that I'd ever even heard of the movie. And I was in high school.
Well, I don't want to be too hard on you because it's hard for me because it's a lifelong thing. It's been there. And it's just never not been there, especially since it came out when I was a kid. But it's also so ingrained in golf and sports and male athletic life to a degree. But yeah, it's sad that it hurts me. It hurts my heart, John. It's not being passed down.
Break.
Oh, while I'm healing, we'll go to break. Welcome to the great Bob Kravitz up next from The Athletic. We'll see what's happening and shaking with Bob later on. Rick Bozich will join us. We'll talk about college basketball and what's going on in that realm, and special guest later on, as we talked about as well. More coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by GoTeam. GoTeamBites.com is where you can find them, or at BB's Market. Fresh, delicious snack full of protein for those on the go. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market, oh, goodness gracious. No, they won't.
I wonder where Bob's at.
There's a great question right here that
I think Adidas and IU, I like it for whatever reason. Maybe that makes me lame, but
well,
I know the money's in Nike and you get more players potentially with Nike though.
the thing is, they're a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Here's Mr. Kravitz.
That
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. Having a little technical difficulty this morning.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm doing this on my phone. Let me see if this works here. That looks okay.
Yeah, and you got good audio too. It sounds good.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. My computer is acting wonky, and I'm not getting any emails from today, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway.
What's
yeah,
the
I
head
had
of the
something
day?
happen the other day.
Yeah, something strange. I was supposed to give a speech yesterday, and I had it on my computer, and I could not log into my computer. I could not log on. So I winged it.
Oh man, how long was this?
I went on for about a half hour. I just kind of winged it, and it went fine. I
Here we
sweat a
go,
lot.
guys. Here we go.
Brewing Company, bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. And now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. It is May 3, everybody. Bob Kravitz joining us as he does from The Athletic. How is your week going, sir? Good, sir. What is the hat of the day?
The Minnesota
North Stars.
Yeah,
the North Stars.
Now the Dallas Stars. Who
I was talking about that game last night. I mean, I was talking about that last night's game earlier.
Right.
And not only that, I want to talk about this period. I wrote this down to talk about this with you, but we'll talk about that one first. Had a hat trick in a playoff game.
He had four. I
four
thought,
hat tricks.
I mean, he had four. I think Pavelski had 4 goals.
Oh yeah, no, yes, he ended up with 4 goals. But I'm just, what are they? I don't even know what you call. What do you call 4? 4 goals.
A good night.
Yeah, a hell of a night. But he had a hat trick plus 1. But so you get the hat trick in the playoff game. But not only that, with 4 goals on top of that. But then you got the Kraken. I love the Kraken.
Love the Kraken.
Love the Kraken, man.
This is unbelievable.
5 goals. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. My daughter lives out there, and they go to games all the time. When we went out to visit her, we went to a couple of games. Really cool, new age arena, and they go and beat Dallas. This is a great story. 2nd-year franchise. You know, they were all bummed out last year because they thought, well, you know, the Golden Knights went to the Stanley Cup Finals their first year, and I kept explaining to her that the rules changed on expansion, and that's never going to happen again. But here they are in their 2nd year, and they're in the Stanley Cup in the playoffs. So that's cool.
That's crazy. With her out there, that means we need 2 hats.
2 Kraken hats?
Yes.
You want one?
Well, hell yes. The Kraken. It's just awesome. I lived in Kent. My last TV job was in Washington State.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but I was on the other side. I was on the other side of that mountain range there, down in the Tri-Cities.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Where nobody lived. Where
it was dry. Nobody lived. It was dry, desert-like, no rain, no humidity. No humidity. I will say this. It was funny because the first time I ever played golf there, I remember having, I don't know, it was like a 40-foot putt. It was like a 12-foot putt. I had a short putt, but I hit it what I thought would be the right speed, and this thing goes like 40, 45 feet. Because there was no humidity, those they were like glass. I was like, what the hell? I had never experienced that before. That was crazy.
I love playing golf at altitude because it makes me feel big and strong. Because your ball goes about 15 to 20% further out in the altitude. Like in the altitude, my 150 club is an 8-iron. It's not even close to that here.
Mine's a shotgun.
What's that?
Shotgun. Mine's a shotgun.
A shotgun. There you go.
The hockey, the NFL playoffs, the stuff we talked about last night, some firsts going on there, but other firsts there were those 2, all of the 3 different 7-game series, different teams. You talk about the Kraken, the 2nd-year franchise. Has the NHL gotten funner all of a sudden?
No, it's always been a blast. In my view, you're talking to a guy who's totally.
Has it gotten more?
It's unpredictable,
engaging.
It's gotten far more unpredictable. The Avalanche should have beaten the hell out of the Kraken. They lost in 7. Florida played the greatest regular season team of all time, the Boston Bruins, and the Bruins got beat in 7 in overtime. A lot of teams that the Lightning, I mean, I thought they would lose to Toronto, and I'm glad they did. But a lot of the big dogs are getting wiped out. You don't see this kind of unpredictability in other sports. I mean, basketball has been a little weird this year with Milwaukee getting wiped out and a couple of other teams. But hockey, there's so much luck involved, and goaltending is everything. And I don't know if you saw Game 7 between the Avs and the Kraken. Only reason the Kraken won is because their goaltender, Philip Grubauer, was unbelievable. Reminded one, dare I say, of a young Bob Kravitz in the nets.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
It's kind of like college basketball. College basketball also going a kind of a different way this year with teams that we just didn't expect. Kind of the same thing. The big dogs getting knocked off.
Yeah, right.
So it's a new era. But hockey is just, the difference is that hockey is only in the areas that it's in generally,
right?
Where, basketball is transcendent upon whatever, but hockey, it just seems like it's been more engaging or attention grabbing this year.
Yeah. It's a shame. Like the New York Rangers, a team that I thought had a chance to get to the Stanley Cup Finals, they got wiped out. So that's a shame. Like I mean, hockey kind of hit its apex back in '94 when, and it's the reason for that was the Rangers won the Stanley Cup, and the Rangers are in New York, and New York is the epicenter of all media, and so all of a sudden everybody said hockey's the greatest, and I still, I've always felt that way, but no, it's in a good place. The problem you have with hockey is, and it's always going to be this way, no matter how big your TV is, no matter how great of a TV it is, technologically, it's hard to follow the puck. It just is, I mean, I can follow it because I played it and all that, and I can anticipate where it's going. But God dang, it's not a great TV sport. It's a live sport. And it's a sport that, like you said, is very regional. You just don't, you go to Waco, Texas, there ain't nobody at the sports bar watching the game, I can promise you. But you go up to Toronto or Winnipeg or wherever, or Boston, and they care deeply.
Yep. Looking forward to watching the remainder of that. But
what's this hockey talk with Bob today? What the hell's going on?
Hey man, we're everything. We're everything.
Okay, I like it.
I like it. It's just something that I thought about. And been around. Hey, I've got Dyer Miller on later today. I'm surprising Rick Bozich with Dyer Miller, who was a former. He pitched probably 7 years in the majors, but
I remember him.
About 2 decades coaching with the White Sox, the Cardinals, and their organization. So he's going to be on later. So we're all encompassing, baby.
Very good. Very good.
Encompassing.
What do you think? What do you think of the Colts draft?
I thought it was exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Me too.
I thought that he was going to be left on the board, and that was who they were going to take over Levis, just because I didn't know all the other things about him, and then learning all the things that you learn afterwards, I'm like, wow, it makes you understand even more so why they took him, why that they felt the need to take a risk on this guy, because all of these guys are risks. Every one of them are taking a risk, so you're trying to minimize that risk. And right. I think that they looked at all these different variables of his and said, all right, well, that's how they minimized it the most, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, look, I honestly thought they were going to go for Levis, and Levis was their second choice, but not disappointed in the slightest. This is a boomer bust proposition. This is either going to work out really, really well, and they are going to have was a Morocco Brown said he's Steve McNair with speed. So that would be good. I would take that. Steve McNair got him to a Super Bowl and many playoffs in Tennessee. But yeah, we're learning more about him. I'm going to try to head down to Gainesville here in the next couple of weeks. He's seems like a really solid kid. You never really know, but all the vetting that they did, they came away with the feeling that he had his head on straight. And I don't doubt that for a second. I mean, this kid's come from a really tough background, like so many pro athletes. And I hope it works out well for him and for the Colts. I really do, because they're going in a different direction, and they desperately need for this kid to work out.
Yesterday, Kevin was with us, Pete pointing out, Kevin Brockway, and he said that the Colts management or owners went to every Gators game last year. So
Morocco Brown said that he was on him in August. So they watched him all year, but they also watched Levis pretty closely as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with Levis. I think Levis is probably going to have a better early career than Richardson, just because I think he's more plug and play. He's more prepared for this moment. But I think in the long term, this kid's got physical skills. It's not hyperbole to say this is the greatest athlete at quarterback we've ever seen. And we've seen some good ones. Steve Young and Steve McNair and Lamar and guys like that. But this guy just tests through the roof athletically. His RAS number is a perfect 10.
There was a lot of talk about the what is it, S2 eval?
Oh yeah.
Not with Anthony, but with
Stroud,
CJ Stroud, which it accounted to be nothing because he was still taken second in the draft as expected. So going forward,
it's sickening. Let me just say this: it's sickening that not that writers share that information, because if somebody gives you information, you run with it if it's right. But I find it sickening that people in the NFL would tell reporters and leak that kind of information, and when we really don't even know if it's accurate. And even if it is, leave it to the teams to vet that and make their decisions based on what they learn. Theoretically, you could have cost the kid and his family millions and millions and millions of dollars in generational wealth. And that is just, excuse my language, boo.
Yeah, absolutely. Boom. Perfect. College basketball, who will stay, who will go? Should I stay or should I go? That's a question for Zach Edey. You wrote about that, but let's say he goes. Well, he's only going to go if he gets drafted, so he can come back.
Right.
So, but I don't know that
he'll be drafted. It'll just be second round.
How deep into the second round do you anticipate?
Pretty deep. Now, I do not know if he's going to go to the NBA Combine. I don't know. I haven't asked. I would assume so. But
you have to if you were in the draft.
Okay. Well, then we'll see what he does. I'll never forget, Jim. Many years ago, I went to the NBA Combine when Kirk Haston was draft eligible.
We were talking about him earlier.
He's a nice player, a nice college player. He went to the NBA Combine and nobody could stop him. And I remember talking to people and they're like, this guy is moving way up the board. I don't remember specifically where he got drafted, but it was way too high, man. It was way too high. And he
played for at least 4 years.
He played for a couple of years, made himself a couple of bucks.
Hey,
that's good.
He's got a pension, baby.
That's the important thing. But I
think
I'd be
he's vested,
curious,
right?
Yeah, I'd be curious what Edie would look like along with Trace up at the combine. So, you know, I just don't feel like he can make a bad choice, Edie. You know, he can stay and be with a great team that has a chance again to win it all. And he's making money through the NIL. So, you know, I mean, it's not, you know, he'll probably make more money on NIL than he will on being an NBA player drafted in the second round. So there's really no bad choice for Zach Edey.
How's he making money as a foreign student?
I don't know. I don't know the mechanics of that. It's a good question. I don't know the answer, but it's the same thing with Oscar Tshiebwe at Kentucky. They find ways to funnel those funds to the player and his family. So there's a way to do it. I just don't know the specifics. I'm sorry.
The combine. When is that?
That's coming up. Let's see.
It's obviously before the draft. So
right. The lottery is
May. It's in May. Isn't it in May?
I think it's in May. Yeah, I think so because I just got an email from somebody asking, who wants to go. So
yeah, I was just getting ready to say I'd love to go up to that, but I'm like, golly, there is a lot going on in May.
There's
the Derby, the 500, the combine, the getting ready for the draft. Much less, there's something called the portal.
Oh yeah, there's the portal. There's that.
There's the portal.
I think it'll be worth going for Trace and for Zach, but I don't know if I'm going to head on up there. The big thing, I want to see where they land in the lottery. The lottery's in, I think, 2 weeks. I think it's May 12th, and I'm just getting this weird feeling. I'm getting a weird feeling, Jim. They may not get Wembanyama, but I got a funny feeling they're gonna move up. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's indigestion.
I saw on Twitter yesterday, it was the latest. They were running these mock
Tankathon, yeah.
That's right, because I reposted it because I thought of you as soon as I saw Tankathon, and I'm like, oh man, that reminds me of Bob. I should have added you, but their latest mock ping pong drop, Wembanyama was heading to Circle City.
Yeah,
I mean, I forget what I said, but I'm trying to think of a bigger franchise change. What's the biggest? I mean, how far back do you have to go?
LeBron going to Cleveland.
I was going to say, is it LeBron?
Yeah. Oh, I think this is a generational player. This is a guy who they think can have the kind of impact that LeBron did. And Cleveland Cavaliers were terrible, and they went and got LeBron, and obviously the trajectory of their basketball team changed forever. So, and they won a championship eventually when he came back. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's beer. I don't know. It's something. I just have a feeling the Pacers, they're due for some good lottery luck. So there you go.
I agree. So Trace Jackson-Davis, what's the best you think that happens for him?
I think the best scenario for him would be high second round, maybe mid-second round. But all the questions that you had for him last year, I still think, even though he had a marvelous season, the only question he really answered last year was, can he play with a high motor all the time? And I think he did that last year. But he still hasn't shown that he has the kind of rounded offensive game that you need in the NBA. He's a back to the basket 6'9" guy, and there's not a lot of use for those in the NBA. I mean, there's not a lot of guys you can name who have Trace's skill set. So maybe he goes up to the combine and shows something that he hasn't shown before, in college. But I think best case scenario would be somewhere in the second round, hopefully in the higher part of the second round.
And there is still, he still has the opportunity. He could transfer to a different school.
He could
with that last year of eligibility.
He's not going to. Do you think there's any chance he will?
No.
He was Jim, he was ready to go last year. He was ready to go last year, and he got COVID.
He couldn't make the money elsewhere that he could here because it's already in place and ready to go.
Right. Exactly.
So, what's up next for you, brother? Hitting the links today. It looks like it's a great looking day outside.
In fact, I think I will hit the links by
I think I will. Thank you very much.
Yes. And then Friday mini camp starts for your Indianapolis Colts, and I will be out there and probably writing off of that. So we'll be a little busy.
Well, make sure you're following Bob Kravitz and are a subscriber to The Athletic. See specials all the time, man.
$2 a month.
Great read every day. You've got to cover the Hoosiers, the Colts, the Pacers, as you can tell. As a matter of fact, we had Zach Kiefer on with us. That was this week talking about the draft.
Yeah.
So very cool. Very cool. Well, brother, you have a great one.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thank you very much. Bob Kravitz, The Athletic, back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Hank's Pizza and Mac. Don't forget, located right on 1280 North College Avenue. You can reach them at 812-330-0000 for those of you in the Bloomington area. They have great Mac bowls, pizzas, and tots. All kinds of great stuff. Hoosier Hank, you're going to be seeing a lot of him. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Holy moly. Oh, my goodness. Yes. All right. What is that? Holy moly.
Excuse me.
All right. I started to watch that at some point last night.
Oh, yeah?
I think I woke up.
Oh, by the way, Rick's good to join 10 minutes early, so he'll be joining us at 9:40.
Cool.
So we'll take this segment all the way to that point. So
we don't need an extra break. We don't need an extra break.
I was doing the math in my head, so we'll break around 9:40. We'll break closer to 10, and then we'll just. Unless are you planning on taking 10 all the way to the end? Or because if not, you could take your last one like 10:20-ish.
When's Dyer coming on?
10.
Yeah, I don't know about breaking with Dyer.
Even well, I mean, like to be done, and then just kind of close it with a couple minutes left is what I'm saying. You don't have to though. It's up to you. Just think about it. If you want to break in the middle of this, that's fine. Here we go.
Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Speed Radio here on this ISB Radio. I'm going to start saying that. It's a lot easier. ISB Radio. On this Wednesday, May 3rd, brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty. If you're ever in the area of the Indianapolis area looking for a home and you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience, could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. It has been quiet on the recruiting front, as far as you know. A lot of things going on in the background and being kept a little more quiet this time around, which is much better. I think it is better for recruiting when you do that, to be honest with you, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Who is going to fill these final 2 spots? Who will it be? Indiana getting a visit this weekend from a man that could be as a 6'8" power forward. Mr. Mbako could you take him, John?
Oh, I'd take him. Or did I misunderstand the question?
Man, he could take both of us.
Oh, you're talking about in a fight? I thought you meant like would I take him on my team?
I meant on the court.
Oh no, anybody could take me on the court. I think I told this story last year. I tried playing in a church league basketball game, and it had been the first time that I played basketball in probably 6 or 7 years. And again, it's church league basketball. We're not talking competitive or anything like that. And I was to the point of nearly throwing up by the time the game was over. And I was decided that's not for me anymore. So yes, long story short, Mackenzie Mbako would destroy me.
Yeah, he would just destroy most people. Earlier, a good question was asked. Would you prefer Indiana was a Nike school or stay with the three-stripe life, Adidas? Nike is the dominant apparel provider in the sports world, in college specifically, in D1 college, in the Big Ten. But that's one of the things that makes it good for Indiana is a bigger fish in a smaller pond. They're one of Adidas's absolute biggest schools. And that's saying something for a school that is not a football school. Kansas, same way. So it's a good question, though. I think Indiana, I don't know what would they benefit any? How do you benefit? What are they going to get more money? Or would they sell more gear?
The biggest benefit is the fact that more of these incoming high school players they sign with Nike and stuff like that.
Yeah. then if that's the case, then Adidas just needs to step up and start getting the players.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think that's the case. I mean, that's happening, but that's not. I mean, I talked about that earlier. There's Trey Jackson Davis and Dalen Hood-Schifino had Adidas NIL deals. Your big schools are going to do that, and that's part of how they're trying to get these guys in that they're getting in. But getting back to the question, personally, I think Indiana is better off right now at the moment staying with Adidas because they're a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And again, to be able to do that and not have a strong football program, that's saying a lot. You go to Nike and you're another school. So they probably get more love from Adidas than they would get from Phil Knight. Just guessing. I've not seen the movie Air yet. Has anybody? Anyone? Bueller? Do you know what that, John, have you seen the movie Air? Heard about it?
The movie what?
Air?
No, I heard you say Bueller, and I thought you were talking about Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Well, it's a line. That was a line from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Anyone?
Okay.
Bueller. It was just a statement. Anyway, yeah, movie Air out. It's about Michael Jordan and the shoe. The shoe, man, the shoe.
Oh, the new one with Matt Damon. I haven't seen it though.
The shoe. Yeah, Matt Damon and his buddy. Oh, come on. His Goodwill Hunting buddy. Man, they're both from Boston. Your cousin from Boston. Ben Affleck. Boy, you're giving me no help today.
I'm not a big movie guy, if you hadn't figured that out.
Oh. But anyway, yeah, they're both in this. But there's a lot of people in it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's interesting. I won't be going to the movies to see that one, but very interested to see that. Kent grew up in the Converse All-Star era. Do you know who was the last NBA player to wear canvas Chuck Converse All-Stars in the NBA? An NBA play.
Just a wild guess.
No.
Who is it?
Well, I wonder if I'm going to give these guys a minute to see if they can figure that if that's that. I learned that by accident, so we're going to find out if that is ascertainable on Google quickly or not, because it'll get thrown up here, and I'll give that answer in a minute. Pete says he read this morning that Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler, as Happy Gilmore, are creating a golf-inspired comedy series. There you go. Sam asked, how much money has Papa John given to Louisville in NIL? Well,
I'm sure he's giving none now.
John, I'm going to say, if you're asking about Papa John specifically, probably Zipperoonie. He is persona non grata in Louisville. Their name has been removed from Cardinal Stadium down there, and he is no longer on the board, or the CEO of the board. So now Papa John's themselves, I'm sure they've given him some, but you've got UPS there, you've got Yum is located there.
The new stadium sponsor is L&N Federal Credit Union. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah,
they finally threw one up there, because last year there was just Cardinal Stadium with nothing.
Which it sounds at first, if you're not familiar with it, it sounds kind of odd, but the funny thing is where the stadium is built, it's built between I-65 and a rail yard. Not a rail yard, a railway. It's close to a rail yard, though, isn't it?
It is close.
So there's that. And I'm going to assume, is it at L&N? Well, there's no L&N Railroad anymore, I don't think. It was merged into others, but that was probably part of the L&N system. Who knows? Man. There's that. Rudy says IU needs a hockey program. You know, they have a club. Bob played on the club team. I think, yeah, I remember him saying that. Seattle Kraken, Kent says, is coming out of the West. Pete says only farmers live in Western Washington. Apples. And JC, remember those speedboat races on the Columbia? It's not a speedboat. It's a hydroplane, baby. Yes, sir. Oddly, there were only like 8 or 9 stops on the hydroplane boat race, you know, John, the hydroplane races. Madison and Evansville are 2 of those stops. They're within an hour and a half, 2 hours of each other on the same river. And there's only 9 stops on the whole damn tour. I ended up being those and then ended up getting a TV job out where one of the other sites was, which was just ironic as heck in that same year. So on the Columbia River, which was wild. But Pete lived in Seattle. He's a Kraken. Hey, he's a Kraken. You can start calling him a Kraken. Does that make him a cracker?
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
I don't either. If you were a part of the Kraken, are you a cracker? I don't know. Who knows? Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss any of these comments. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And what else? The college football playoff format released. I never did find that stinking email. I was looking for that. The first round are going to be at home. I do know that.
Yes, that is the case.
And which is going to be I'm wondering if they should have kept it that way, or if that's how it should be, or if they should play in what is a bowl game. I don't know. I guess it's, you know what? It's like anything else. In the playoffs, you play on the road. So there's no different with that than any other sport, whether it doesn't matter professionally or otherwise. So I guess that's all right. What do you think? Is with it being so few games and so few teams, and it being a one game and you're done sort of deal. But in the NFL, somebody's got to be at home. But what about the bowl games?
I was thinking about this the other day too. It almost feels like down the road we're going to be living in an era where you'll have more than 12 playoff teams.
Here we go. Okay, here we go. I found it. All right, the quarterfinals after the first round. And now also, the first round is on Saturday in December. 3 games. Early afternoon, late afternoon, and the evening. There will also be NFL games on that day because the NFL begins playing on Saturdays on that particular Saturday. So they will also have a game, and there's a game on Friday night. 1 game on Friday night. All of those are on-campus games. The next round, the quarterfinals, are on Tuesday, New Year's Eve, which is the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Wednesday, January 1st, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. That's, of course, down in Atlanta in the early afternoon. Then you have the Rose Bowl in late afternoon and the All-State Sugar Bowl that evening. So you're mixing in all parts of the country there with the Fiesta Bowl out in Arizona, Phoenix. Then you go to Atlanta, then to Pasadena, then the Sugar Bowl down in New Orleans. Then you have the semifinal round, and that is on a Thursday, January 9th. It's the Capital One Orange Bowl, followed on Friday by the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Both of those are night games. And then the championship now, the college football championship now is January 20th. We're 3 weeks into January now. It wasn't that long ago. The last game was on January 1st. The Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. So two of the games are in Atlanta, the championship. So there's that. Now in 25, the championship is in Hard Rock Gardens, or Miami Gardens, Florida, and Hard Rock Stadium. And then everything, it's the same thing. It just jumbled differently. This bowl games just moved around on different. This year, Wednesday is the first game, and it's the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, or that's next year. This year, it's the Fiesta Bowl. So it just moves around. But that's how the 12-team playoffs are going to lay out. What do you think about that? Are you looking? That's something I'm looking forward to, because there are going to be upsets. Now, how many times is the top team going to get knocked off? That's going to be key. That's going to be interesting to see. It's not likely to happen a lot. Well, it won't happen a lot, obviously, from what we've seen the last few years. Look how dominant the champions have been. Alabama's and the Georgias. Man, they've been pretty dominant. But there you go.
Are you asking me now? Sometimes I don't know if you're talking rhetorically or to me.
I am. I'm just, that was just rhetorical.
Okay.
That was just rhetorical. Absolutely. I do wish that there was that interaction, because I'm curious as to others' opinions.
Break.
Good thing is we have to take a break. Rick Bozich is going to join us. Looking forward to that, and a surprise for him coming up a little bit later. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market, I almost said it, and I looked over and I saw that he was there.
I thought you already spoiled it for him a couple of weeks ago, but maybe you didn't.
I don't think I did. Did I?
You were talking about prospect or something. I didn't know what that was all about, but
No, that was something totally separate. Oh, shoot, I forgot about that. Yeah, where did you say? End up saying it now.
Oh,
that you actually. Yeah, but where is it you say that actually? What area is it?
that I live now?
Yeah. The
I
area,
live in-
just the area.
I live in Northfield, right across from Holiday Manor off Brownsboro Road.
Oh, yeah. By Mojitos.
Yeah. Not far
You
from
ever been
Ball.
there?
Oh, I love mojitos.
Mojitos.
One of my favorite restaurants.
Great place. No, I meant to text you to remind you to study up on crossovers with the White Sox and the Cardinals.
Okay. The Cardinals are pretty bad this year.
Not current. No, this has nothing to do with current. The special guest.
Oh.
The special guest is a White Sox and Cardinal crossover.
Player?
They were, and I don't know, not for the, I have to, let's see, I've got to go back up and see which exact, there we go.
Ricky Horton? I don't know. Lance Johnson?
Did not play for those teams, no.
Okay.
Played for others. Orioles, Angels, Blue Jays, and the Mets. Here come the Mets. Here come the Mets.
You got me stumped.
Well, it's one that would not jump out at you, and when I say it, it's going to be. I think it'll be familiar to you, but
Okay.
it's nothing. It's nothing that I would expect you to guess.
Okay.
Because it's almost an oddity at this point.
All right.
All right, 30 seconds.
This Wild Club is located next door to Southern Stone Restaurant on Patterson and Rogers. It's one of the most popular gathering spots in Bloomington. Whether you're out on a date with your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back. It is Wednesday, May 3rd, and it's pretty nice here in South Central Indiana. What's it like down there in the Louisville area, Rick?
It's approaching 50 degrees, a little windy this morning, a little chilly, but it's better than it's been the last couple mornings out at the track. But I didn't go today. I went Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. I took today off.
Yes, for those of you who do not know, the time to be out at Churchill Downs is from around 5 a.m., maybe even 4:30, for 5 a.m. to 7:30, 8. It's about done by then, 8:30, 9 for sure. But all the action is going on. They're all out. The horses are out. The trainers are out. That's whenever the peeps are out. Rick Bozich is out. What's it like back there this year?
The crowd's picked up every day. Today I've heard it was the largest crowd of the week. People show up usually around 7-ish, and they kind of collect by the press center there on the backstretch, and then they wait at 7:30. They shut the track down, and only the Derby and Oaks horses are allowed on the track, and they all come out. The Oaks horses have pink saddlecloths. The Derby horses have gold saddlecloths, and everybody strains forward to get a look at every horse first as they sort of are walking on the track to see how they look, and then most of them had their last workout where they actually run fast on Saturday or Sunday, and then they just watch them gallop. And people, the real sharp people, are looking to see, if a horse moves smoothly, or if he seems to like the track, or if he's, kind of struggling a little bit or not real smooth going across the ground. And other people are just out there, enjoying the beautiful horses, and they are beautiful animals.
When does that close, that window?
The Derby horses, I think, are on the track from like 7:30 to 8, and then they open it up again for the other horses, and the other horses can train. I don't even know what time. Yesterday they were out there at least past 9, but the crowd kind of dissipates after that because people have to go to work, and they're not out there to watch horses that are going to run in the 6th race next Wednesday.
It's a very unique thing in professional sports, you have to say, because this is one of the unique venues where people can get almost to man, it's like leaning up on the rail as during qualifications for NASCAR or for the Indy 500, to being that close to the cars.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like going to the IU Purdue game, and you got in for shoot around the morning of the game or something, and you got to sit there, and you might be 10 feet away from Xavier Johnson or Zach Eady or whenever they're coming on the floor, and you can yell something at the trainer or whatever. Or, I mean, some trainers are nice enough, they stop the horse and just for a second, mostly media people, can get pictures or video. So it's a pretty accommodating thing. And while all that's going on, Jim, on the other side of the track, which is the front side, they serve breakfast. And it's called Dawn at the Downs, and people come there and have breakfast. And then when they know the Derby horses are coming out, the people take a break and they go out on the balcony away from where the food is and watch them go by. And they have an announcer over there who's explaining to them everything that they're seeing, because most people, don't really know. On the backside, it's more knowledgeable horse racing people. There's, people who have a lot of horse owners who might not have a horse in the Derby, but they own other horses, and they bring friends out, and it's a big social thing. And every trainer is paired up with a Louisvillian who's their host or hostess, who makes sure that, they get their courtesy car and barn passes, and all the different people come in. And you got blacksmiths out there shoeing horses. You got vets out there dealing with horses. You've got jockey agents wandering around trying to get their jocks on mounts and all the different races at Churchill. And it's like a city within a city.
Yeah, you could, when you're out there too, you never know who you're going to be next to.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I'm not
Jeff
just
Brown
talking celebrity
Jeff
wise,
Brown
but
was out there today.
There you go. Now that doesn't surprise me. And I have a story for, and you can tell him, and he has to remember this. I think he was the coach at Western then. And we were up on the 5th floor, and he didn't have, any a booth or anything. He wasn't with anyone. And I just kept trying to get him into a booth. I just said, hey, Coach Jeff Brahms out here. Do y'all mind if he comes in? So I asked a couple of people till I got him into a booth, I think. But I don't think he's going to have to ask anybody to get into a booth this year.
No, he's good. I'm sure he's got a very nice seat.
I wonder if he'll return the favor.
He's all in. He went to a lot of Louisville basketball games, men and women's. Pretty sure he was at the volleyball late in the year when they were in the tournament. He's at the baseball games. He's definitely a very visible member of the University of Louisville community.
We've got to get some basketball talk in, or they're going to cut my fingers off.
Let me turn this dehumidifier off here.
Well, hopefully that way it makes everything much nicer. But there are plenty of visits going on, plenty of offers happening. The offers mostly right now are going on to these guys in the future. But the visits that are happening right now, Indiana expecting Mr. Mbako on the 5th and 6th, which is Derby weekend, Oaks and Derby Day,
right?
Ironically, but and it's graduation day for Indiana on top of that. So kind of odd, but I guess they're doing whatever they can whenever they can. Then he's going to come to Louisville. I don't know when that's going to happen, but is he just going to come from Indiana to Louisville? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. That would make sense. I mean, is he at Kansas right now, or is that over?
You know what? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, he was at St. John's over the weekend, then Kansas, then Indiana, then Louisville. And then I guess a decision is expected not long after that. So I don't have any idea how to rank them. If I had to guess, I would say, you ask me, I'd say Louisville's in the strongest position, getting the last visit and the pre-existing relationships he might have there with Kenny Payne. But we'll see.
Louisville has been surprising with the visits they've gotten and the commitments they've gotten. I'm a little surprised, but something that John kind of jogged my mind about earlier, and I don't mean this in a nefarious way, but there are a lot of guys that Adidas have NIL deals with. Trey Jackson Davis, Jalen Hood-Schifino were two of those last year. And Louisville is one of Adidas's flagships, Indiana being one of those, Kansas.
Right.
And there aren't a whole lot of those. But I think that I'm wondering if there isn't some feelings by Adidas of, hey, we feel bad about what happened to the program and the people, and or maybe they're able to get more help from Adidas NIL wise to land some of these guys. But how are they doing so damn well after such a horrible season?
Well, I mean, two of the commitments they got were before the season, and I'm not sure they're doing. I mean, they got the big kid who decommitted from Minnesota. That was a little bit of a head scratcher, but I think that Kenny Payne had a pre-existing relationship with maybe one of his coaches. I'm trying to. Who else have they got that makes you think they're having that great of a recruiting? They got the junior who reclassified, and that's another guy. Kenny Payne. Trent Flowers he had a relationship with him. A lot of it is the relationships he built when he was recruiting at Kentucky. He's connected with a lot of different people. He's got the one player from NBA Africa. He's been over there to recruit that. He's working that. That's what I would say it would be. Kenny Payne is connected from his days recruiting from John Calipari and his time at Oregon. He was very well liked within the Nike community when he was out there at Oregon. So, the Louisville fans really have sort of the same attitude that Indiana fans have at this point. Is like, when are you going to recruit a guard and when are you going to recruit a shooter? Both fan bases are looking for the same thing. And McBacco is neither.
Well, exactly. But Indiana does have a guy that they are on that they are definitely trying to get into the fold.
Is that Dingle?
Yeah.
And is there any progress been made on that? I mean, have they even talked to him?
You know what? I haven't seen it, but I hope for Indiana's sake that they're keeping it quiet this time. I really do. I think, well, anyway.
It's the old business thing of, you under promise and over deliver. That way people think, wow, they really went to work there. When you over promise and under deliver, then people look at it as a failure. So I think all the publicity that came out about Ludlam and Connect and Timberlake and whoever else got people pumped up thinking they were going to get at least one and maybe two of those guys. And when they got none, when you have a fan base as rabid as Indiana's is, disappointment is usually the reaction to that. So I know that at Louisville, they keep all of it under the hood. They don't like talking about any of it to anybody. And I know that one time word got out last summer that Nolan Smith, one of the assistant coaches, was headed overseas to watch DJ Wagner. I think Jeff Goodman tweeted it out. And I know that Kenny Payne wasn't happy about that. He likes to keep the recruiting business private.
Who was he not happy with?
He was not happy with, I think, that Jeff Goodman got the information, however he got it.
Yeah. But I think that's how it should be. Because
I agree.
You only bring problems when you do otherwise, especially when it's that information is doled. But they kind of put themselves in a bad position because I don't think they made any bones about the fact that they were kind of all in on those two guys. And
love them and Connect.
Yeah, and then when you don't get that, that's first of all, it's a bad look because you went all in and failed. But before that, it was a bad look that you went all in because you're telling everybody else, and they're like, all right, whatever. They're going someplace else. And so yeah, but I think it's going to work out fine for Indiana, especially if they were able to land this kid. I think he would just
Dingle.
Boom. Yep.
Yeah,
put him right in place.
He'd be the perfect addition to the team, in my opinion.
And with what they have coming in, I think that maybe Cups and Sky Newton maybe they're not your average freshman. They're not 5 stars, but maybe that they're able to do something. Neither were Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. They're not 5-star guards, but they started for an entire Big Ten season and got through that. Indiana has Caleb Gunn, Caleb Banks, who every time he came in, you can tell this is a dude that wants to play, wants to get better. So I think that they're going to be fine. We'll just see how they finish off these final pieces. But that's also Xavier Johnson has to be the same Xavier Johnson too.
Yeah. Well, he should be a better Xavier Johnson. I've seen a lot of guys come back from a fifth metatarsal injury and be okay. This is the 6th year of college basketball, and he should be mature. He's going to be the oldest guy in the team, maybe one of the oldest guys in the league, and you're playing against guys who aren't as physically or as mentally mature as you are, and you should have the upper hand most times. And we saw, really the last time we really saw him play an extended period when he was healthy was the way he played at the end of his first season at IU, and he was fantastic. He was a first-team All-Big Ten player the way he played, the last couple of games of the regular season and in the Big Ten tournament, because he shot the ball and ran the pick and roll very efficiently. So, and we've talked about this before. The way that they missed Xavier Johnson on defense terribly last season, because he was the defender at the point of attack, and he didn't let the opposing point guard get comfortable. And I'm not talking about steals. I'm just talking about making it hard for the guy to get into his offense and feel comfortable on the court. He had to respect the defense of Xavier Johnson. And no criticism of Jalen Hood-Schifino, but we saw in the last game against Miami that he was, Miami didn't fear him. And I think Xavier Johnson in that game would have made a difference.
Absolutely. Indiana adds Anthony Walker, another front court piece from Miami. He has a ton of experience. He has NCAA Final Four experience, which is always a good thing. You can't replace Trace Jackson-Davis probably in its whole, but I think that they can replace him in the aggregate and maybe more. I think they've done that. I think they may have added rebounding with Sparks and with Walker. You've definitely you've given maybe some versatility with Ware at 7 foot with more length, but able to maybe step out. You've got Malik Renew coming back for a second year that you expect improvement after a good first year. So they're solid, and that should also, I think, be a bait to whomever else is going to fill those last 2 roles, saying, hey, man, this team's kind of set and ready to go. And the coaching staff should be able to say, hey, all I need is you. I need you in this spot to make this team ready to go. And
I agree.
Before, maybe those guys are looking at the team going, I don't know. Maybe that's just part of it. And because I don't know what the difference maker is, I'm just guessing.
Yeah, he should have plenty of things to sell. He should have the to be able to sell. Look what I did for Jalen Hood-Schifino. Look what I did for Trace Jackson-Davis. Both of those guys. Hood-Schifino for sure is going to go in the first round, higher than he was projected to go before the season. Jackson-Davis might go in the first round, but wherever he goes, it's higher than he was projected to go before the season. So if that's important to you, I can offer that. If you're a guard, I can offer playing time, and this is the role you'll have. I can probably offer a winning team because we got all these other pieces there, and I got a chance to play at a Big Ten program in front of a fan base that is dying for success. And if you come in there, you'll be remembered for what you did. And the NIL money has to be in there and be competitive. So they got a lot to offer. It's just a matter of whether they can get somebody to look at it that way. And going back to Walker, a lot of people have sort of yawned at that pickup because he didn't do much offensively last year. But I kind of like it because he's a good depth piece. He gives them a chance to mix and match with Sparks. I think Sparks is more of a power low post player. This kid is probably going to be more of a defender and a rebounder. And this is another 5th-year guy who played at Miami and was coached by Jim Larinaga, so he knows how to play. And he has to know what the situation is he's walking into and saying, yeah, I'm cool with that. I just want to be part of a good team. So, I think it's a good pickup. He could be a good 10 to 15-minute guy off the bench. And if somebody gets hurt and he's got to play more than that for a few games, then because he started a bunch of games at Miami a few years ago, he should be able to do that.
We've got to take a break. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com is with us. And when we come back, he'll be with us and a little bit more, a little surprise. And we'll let him know when we come back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Now
Dyer Miller,
the secret is broken. Now the secret is out.
my buddy. Hi, Dyer.
Hi, Rick. How you doing?
I'm good. Where are you?
I'm in the shores of Lake Monroe down in Bloomington.
Is that where you living?
I live in Indianapolis, but we have a place down here. So we come down. I play golf on Tuesday nights here.
Oh, wow.
I play at it. So we've been down here since 15. We've had this place.
Cool.
He's at the golf club at Eagle Point Studios Annex.
Awesome.
Oh, you're down at Louisville, right?
I'm still there. Yeah, those are some of my favorite days of my career when you and Fregosi and the boys were here.
Hey, myself and Galen Pitts talk about it all the time. It's
Oh,
the
my
best
God.
5 years I ever spent in baseball.
Oh, man. Fregosi was so – the last time I saw him, I was up in Chicago covering the White Sox, and I was in the Marriott on Michigan Avenue in the concierge lounge eating breakfast. And in the distance, I heard this voice. He goes, Are you still scuffling through life with all that crap that you write? And I looked over my shoulder, and there he was, and came over and gave me a big hug.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I was on his staff up there. Had a great time up in Chicago.
I remember. I
Yeah.
flew up with him when he got the job. Hawk Harrelson axed Tony La Russa and brought Fregosi on board.
That's right.
Never gave him any players, so you guys didn't have many players.
We didn't have much. I think we finished 5th both years, but
Calderon and Tartabull and
yeah,
Scott Fletcher, maybe.
I don't know for sure. Ozzie Guillen was on the team. Kenny Wentz
Ozzie
was on
Guillen.
the team. They're still with the White Sox.
Carlton Fisk.
Carlton Fisk was
Ozzie
there.
Guillen. I wish. Now that would make this bet. Now that would complete this right here. I would just sit back and let Ozzie talk.
Yeah,
I
we
tease
wouldn't
Rick all the time.
We wouldn't get a word in edgewise.
No.
He was that way as a player as well. But good guy. Great guy.
I tease Rick all the time. I love listening to the White Sox postgame show because I can't understand half of what he says, but I just love. But I love every second of it because I'm like, he's ripping somebody's butt or he's complimenting somebody. I just can't tell who, but I love it.
Yeah,
He lights them up, man.
He does. He's very entertaining. Our daughter lives up in Crown Point, so we go up there
Oh, really?
every month or so, and we catch the White Sox. I
I
want
grew
to go to a couple of games up there sometime.
Where's Mark?
Here we go, guys.
What's that?
Coming back from break.
Weekly specials, quick, attentive service. Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Wednesday, May 3rd, Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. And very, very happy and to welcome in a special guest, Mr. Dyer Miller. He is a former Major League Baseball player, 7 years in the majors for the Mets, Blue Jays, Angels, and the Orioles. Coached for over 2 decades, mainly with the Cardinals organization, but some with the White Sox as well. So we've got a whole bunch of crossover with our friend Rick Bozich, who grew up a White Sox fan from the region. He's a region rat, then spending his career down in Louisville, and the Redbirds were the Cardinals AAA team for the Redbirds were Cardinals AAA team in Louisville there for a long time from 83 through the mid 2000s, I think. But just in a great run of those Cardinals teams. Rick, first of all, thank you so much, Dyer, for coming on. We appreciate you and welcome.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Good to be with you. You're talking baseball anytime. Good to see Rick.
Hey, good to see you, Dyer. Those were great years, man. Talk
Those
about them
were
all the
great.
time.
Yeah.
Rick,
We won the
talk about it. Yeah, I was going to say the talent that came through there. I remember. I was like, oh my God! I think back whether it's Andy Van Slyke, Vince Coleman, all of these big time names that were in Louisville before they got to become what they were in St. Louis. The Redbirds, man, they were unique in a lot of ways, but they produced a ton of talent. It's not a lot of guys that make it to AAA, make it to the big league. But boy, the Cardinals really had an incredible farm system.
They did. We had some really good players. But, the thing I remember about Louisville is that we drew some crowds there. We had, in 83, we drew over 1 million people.
First time it ever happened.
Outdrew the Pirates. The fans were awesome there. I'm playing in that old stadium there at the fairgrounds. That was neat. There would be 40,000 every night in August. It was a fun time.
Yeah,
And,
it became
Vince
happening.
Vince Coleman. Oh, my, Gene Ruff. There's just some good players come through there. Mike Elise, good hitter. Joey Disa.
The first year was Willie McGee and Andy Van Slyke, and Todd Worrell was there. Joe McGrain. I'm trying to. Tom Nieto, who was a catcher, was really good. David Green, Tito Landrum, who broke my heart in 1983 when he hit the home run for the Orioles to beat the White Sox in the first game of the playoffs.
Right.
Ray Langford, Terry Pendleton. I could go on and on, man.
John Stuper.
Ken Hill, John Stuper, who won a game in the World Series and later became the baseball coach at Yale.
He's still there, I believe.
Is he?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Before we get further into your coaching, talk about your playing career. You played with 4 different teams. Like I said, the Orioles, the Angels, the Blue Jays, and the Mets. Was there a favorite organization? You can say it now. They're not listening.
I actually signed as the catcher with the Phillies. Had a little cup of coffee and a ball, and then got released and signed back as a pitcher with the Orioles. And I would say the Orioles. I spent 6 years in their minor league system, but that's one of my favorites. And they're playing pretty darn good right now. And I follow them pretty close because the general manager, the pitching coach, the assistant general manager were in Houston and St. Louis with me. So I was in Baltimore last year for a couple of games. And then I worked after I retired at the end of 18, I worked spring training with them, 19 and 20. So I know some of those guys in the front office and some of the players. They got some real good young players, Baltimore.
Yeah,
of course,
really
if you're in the big leagues, any place is a pretty good place to play. That's where you want to play.
What was your favorite moment as a player?
Well, getting called up to the big leagues on my 29th birthday, May 29th, 75. And then
you don't remember exactly what date or anything like that, do you?
No. but I had to fly. We were in Richmond, Virginia, and I had to fly to the West Coast because the Orioles were playing the Angels. So it was a fun ride out there. And then, hey, my second one's kind of infamous. I gave up Hank Aaron's 743rd home run.
No.
It was kind of, and I got to save in that game, so no damage. Earl was happy. Earl Weaver. He was happy.
How many packs of cigarettes did he smoke when you pitched?
Oh boy! Oh, he was puffing. He was puffing.
Did you play with Ed Farmer at all?
Excuse me. Oh yeah, I played with Ed Farmer in Puerto Rico in 1974.
Oh wow!
At Santurce, so Frank Robinson was our manager, and then he got the Cleveland job about a month into the season. He left, but yeah, Ed was a character. He was down here in Indianapolis where I live now and gave a talk to the Old Timers Club. That's probably been 8-9 years ago. And I know he passed here a couple years ago. But what a great guy. Awesome guy. Good competitor. He would do some goofy things, like drive his in Puerto Rico, drive his Volkswagen down the sidewalk, go around traffic, but great guy. Awesome.
And Rick, when Dyer was in Louisville, again, like I was going back and talking earlier, those teams, not only was it fun, the crowds were there because A. Smith, he had to be the greatest guy in the history of planet Earth to work for. But he was the owner, and he made it a circus, and the people came out. But they were also great teams. They won. Like we talked about that talent earlier, they were winning. And so it was a hell of a combination.
Yeah, I mean, it was just phenomenal what A-Ray did. He was a salesman. He was a showman. He would come to the park and he'd walk through the stands and talk to fans and get them engaged. He would find different ways, different kind of promotions to get people to come out. And he started selling the season before it even began in January every year. He always had this big preseason banquet or whatever it was. And he'd bring in Mickey Mantle, Billy Martin, Keith Hernandez, Stan Musial. All these legendary baseball guys would come in and fans could get autographs and actually sit and talk to him. And I'm sure you were there for a couple of those, Dyer. And he got it. He came from a different era of promoting the game. And he brought the team here actually from Springfield, Illinois. And Louisville had been without baseball, I think, from 1972 to 1981. It was the largest city in the country that didn't have pro baseball. And there was a tremendous appetite for it. And you know, Joe Frazier managed the first year, and then they brought Jim Fregosi in the second year. And he actually stayed here 3.5 years before he went to the White Sox.
That's right.
And I used to go to games, I don't know, 2 or 3 every homestand just to come and talk to Dyer and talk to Galen Pitts and talk to Fregosi. I love getting old baseball stories from those guys.
Yeah. Fregosi was a treat. People ask, who's your favorite manager? Well, for me, it was Jim because he was good to me. He was kind of my mentor. He helped me stay in the game of coaching and just a super guy. And he met his wife down there,
Joni.
And they have grandkids now. So it's been a while ago. Time flies, but we had a great time. A-Ray was great to play for. He gave, I think meal money was about $15 a day back then, and A-Ray gave us 25, the players. So that made all the other teams jealous. But, we had to make some appearances for him. We'd go up they had this famous stadium club.
Yes,
upstairs.
They did.
Players would go up there and mingle with the fans, and it was an awesome atmosphere. Really
Do you remember the bartender's name? I sent you a text about this.
I thought it was Danny.
Well, that is his real name. Herbie was
Herbie?
I guess that was his nickname, but Danny was his real name. Yes.
Yeah, Danny was his real name.
I think
that's
he worked
his real name.
I think he worked for Lancasters across the.
Well, I think he originally did, but A-Ray basically bought him out.
Yeah.
He used to work for A-Ray.
Right.
A-Ray loved to eat lunch too at Hassenauer's. That was his go-to place.
Oh,
which
that's
isn't
right.
open anymore. He'd always, whenever you'd want to meet A-Ray, he'd say, "Let's have lunch at Hassenauer's."
That's correct. Yeah. Well, you talk about selling tickets. One year, I stayed down there and worked in front office for A-Ray, and I had to run errands for him, make calls, call season ticket holders. One day he said, "Hey, Dyer, Mickey Mantle's coming in, flying into the airport. I want you to go pick him up, take him over to New Albany, and he's going to speak at this luncheon over there. And then bring him back. We'll have a few drinks in the club." I said, "Okay." Hey, I think it was 26th of January, pretty icy. So I got Mickey over there. You could walk right up to the gate in those days, pick him up, and I took him over there. And about 2 minutes before he was going to talk, the guy sitting next to him, he said, "Hey, you got to introduce Mickey." And I had no prep for it or anything. So I just stood up and said, "Hey, greatest player of all time, number 7, Mickey Mantle. Mickey got some good laughs. He really aired me out on that one. But hey, on the way back, he got an envelope in cash. They paid him cash. He got a nice envelope there. And on the way back, he opens up the envelope and peels me off 10% for taking him over there. That's the kind of guy Mickey was. What a great guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Very nice. Now, was this after he had stopped drinking?
No, he had a few that we had a few that night.
I was just curious because I was like, I was wondering who survived, because he was notoriously good at very successful drinker as he was.
Nice guy. He would talk. He and Billy Martin. I've been with him and Billy Martin in some of those. Man, there's some good baseball stories.
Oh my gosh, I cannot imagine sitting. Rick? Can you imagine sitting at a bar listening between those two?
No.
And you got Dyer there, and you got Billy Martin there, and you got Mickey Mantle. Woo!
Well,
and Usual would always come and play the harmonica.
Yeah, he would. Hey, I was just listening. I didn't participate much in those stories. But hey, Rick mentioned before about those dinners. One year, I think it was 84, like in January. I still have the picture. There was 22 Hall of Famers at that dinner.
Wow.
He called it the Diamond Dinner. I got the picture of it. I still have it. I saw it the other day. 22 Hall of Famers. That was a nice crowd. Warren Spahn was there.
Warren Spahn for sure. Yeah, that's Abraham. He loved baseball, and he had a lot of respect for the players, and that was a very important thing for him every year. And you know how Cardinal Nation is anyway. I mean, the St. Louis Cardinals are a unique franchise in baseball. The following they have in town and then regionally throughout this part of the country. Exactly. People listening to KMOX and Jack Buck and Mike Shannon, RIP, and the whole Cardinal thing. And Abraham was a part of it.
Right. We would take caravans in southern Indiana and northern Kentucky before we went to spring training. And Billy Martin and Mickey would ride with us sometimes on those caravans. We went to Jasper one day, Indiana, and we played an exhibition game right before the season started.
Gee whiz.
Wow.
The coach down there still talks about it. He said, boy, that was great. You guys come down there and played. So
phenomenal.
He was a real good promoter. He was awesome.
Well, Jasper's still a hell of a baseball town, so they picked the right spot. Scott Rowland just went into the Baseball Hall of Fame from Jasper. Also lives on Lake Monroe, ironically.
Right.
I don't know how many miles around.
He's just behind my back here, behind me a ways.
Could you hit him with a cat? Could you cast a line and hit him?
I probably could. I talked to him a couple of weeks after. I saw him at an event up in Noblesville a couple of weeks after he got elected. Yeah, he's well deserved. What a great guy. Good player.
Absolutely. And just a super person.
Outstanding.
Just an incredible person. Rick, when you see guys like Dyer that spent all this time in these different organizations that you got to follow, man, that's childhood memories and work memories, career memories. That's a lot of stuff that fortunately all kind of folded together.
Yeah, I mean, deep down inside, I'm a baseball fan. It's my favorite sport. Always has been, always will be, ever since I was a kid. I remember the first time my grandfather took me to a game at Old Comiskey Park, White Sox against the Red Sox. Ted Williams was still playing at the time. They had Pumpsy Green and a few other dudes. And when you walk into the ballpark at ground level and walk up at Old Comiskey, it was the old 8 or 10 steps, and then the whole green field unfolds in front of you. You're just like, you're mystified. You're captivated for the rest of your life. And, I'd go to ball games as much as I could. Whether I was a paper boy, I'd win a contest, free trip to a White Sox game, or our church would go free trip to a White Sox game. I'd always go, and I've held that love of baseball ever since. The White Sox aren't very good this year, 9-21, but of the 30 games, I bet I've watched 27 of them. Watched the whole game last night. So I appreciate guys like Dyer. When he was here, he was always so accommodating and generous with his time. And as I mentioned many times, Jim Fregosi. This is my belief. If Jim sensed that you really liked baseball and you were into baseball, he would sit there and talk with you forever. I sat in his old office, and he would tell me all these old stories about Frank Robinson and Al Kaline and Rod Carew and all these dudes, and I was like, I just couldn't get enough of it.
Right. Yeah. He was Jim was awesome. A very smart, a good card player. We used to play cards a lot, but a real good baseball guy. Really smart. A lot of times I don't think he had the team to win, but he got the most out of them.
Yeah, he did.
If he would have got a little more help from front office, a couple places, I'm sure he'd been in several World Series.
And Dyer, what you've got to spend your career at different places, but also really got to set some roots at some places, which is not always the case for people, and at some places that really appreciated you, whether it was St. Louis or Louisville. That has to be special for you to be able to still not just relive that, but be able to run into someone like Rick, who was a part of that.
Well, no question about it. I grew up as a Cardinal fan when I was 7 years old, and I said, "Hey, I'd like to play in the big leagues." My mom helped me out a lot. She listened to ball games, and hey, I was 29 before I got to the big leagues. But I've ran into some amazing people, and there's some great people in baseball. It's a great fraternity. You can't beat it. I've got to go to Mexico and play 2 years. I played in Puerto Rico, so I'm Dominican. And Venezuela, so I got to travel a lot, and I've been very fortunate. And I can remember Earl Weaver, talking about reporters. I got in a little scuffle with a reporter one time in Baltimore, and he called me in and he said, "Hey, Dyer." I tried to be friendly with everyone, but he said, "Hey, Dyer, you got to remember that writers and reporters, the media is a part of this game. They keep it going. They're very important." That Earl was pretty smart. He was good at that, And so was Fregosi. They were good baseball people. And
Earl's a good TV guy,
we need writers. We need reporters. We need that in the game to spread the good news.
Earl knew how to use the TV as well, I think.
Yeah. Oh, he did.
He was one of the most colorful managers of his era, I guess.
Who was the famous nose argument? Was that him and Ron Luciano? Was that who it was? I think it was.
I can't remember who it was. I just remember you couldn't do that today. But just great stuff. Man, I am so happy to be able to have you come on and talk with us and talk to Rick. He's a big baseball fan, big White Sox fan. I know that. But I knew that with his Louisville combination, I know the All-Star game was there in '91. Were you from the AAA? Were you there for that, Dyer, at that time?
In Louisville?
Yeah.
No, I was not. No, I was gone. I was there 82 through 84 as a player. And 85, my first year coaching, I was AA Little Rock. And then I come back to coach third base for Fregosi in 86. That was a treat, ex-pitcher coaching third base, but that was fun. I really enjoyed that. Then I coached with Jim in Chicago, and I coached a little bit of third base up there, actually. So that was fun.
Yeah, 86.
Through Jim,
July of 86 is when he got the call to replace La Russa in Chicago.
Right,
I flew up to Chicago with him.
Well, he told me, he said, "Hey, I'm not going to take you up now, but at the end of the year, I want you to come up there." So I went up to the meetings after the season was over, and I went up there with Jim for 2 years. Had a great time. Chicago is a great baseball town. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. As long as you stay on the south side.
Yeah. Well, we used to play before Interleague, we would play the Cubs in the Windy City Classic.
The charity game, yeah.
That was a big game. The Gatorade Classic, I think they call it.
Well, Dyer, I cannot thank you enough, man, for your time. It has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for coming on with us and for coming on for Rick. I appreciate that very much. And I hope you have a great round today. It's a beautiful day out there.
It's a great day. Yep. We'll try. It's pretty hard for me, but hey, it's good to see you, Rick.
Good to see you, Dyer. Glad you're doing well.
I'd forgotten that you'd went to IU here, so that's awesome.
Yep.
Good for
yes,
you.
I did. All right.
Good to see you. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Dyer.
Dyer
Thanks,
Miller.
Tim.
Thank you. Rick Bozich
All
joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got more coming up right after this.
We'll be right
Bye-bye.
back to the Golf
See you
Club at
guys.
Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
That
I
was
was
a
trying
cool
to
little
kick him out of
segment
there.
right I'll get rid of it. Yeah, that was a cool segment.
Ike, I'll ask him.
Excuse me.
Ike, remind me next time, and I will ask him if his parents immigrated here or if it was his
Rick's
grandparents.
parents?
I don't remember.
That's a
I
good
know.
question.
I do know he's Serbian because I've asked him what
Yes.
Bozich is.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Which would have been a great conversation because a lot of Serbian basketball players, but did you know? And I'll mention this when we come back. So there's no point in mentioning it now.
We'll only have about 2.5 minutes when we come back. Excuse me. Trying to find a good headshot of Dyer Miller. Excuse me. All right, here we go.
Of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by K Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Hump Day, Wednesday, May 3rd. Thanks a lot for being with us today. We greatly appreciate you, as always. Thought that was a fun midweek show. Very entertaining. Are you not entertained? Big thanks to Bob Kravitz today from The Athletic. He's out playing golf now. We just spoke to Dyer Miller, former Major League Baseball player, coach. He's out playing golf now. Rick Bozich is not out playing golf and will not be out playing golf. He's not a golfer. Rick's a big guy, though, 6'6". But thanks to you guys, most of all, as always. Someone asked if Rick was Serbian, and yes, he is. Oh, I know that reminds me of something I wanted to bring up quickly. Just have a minute. I noticed last night Joel Embiid won the NBA MVP award. But the biggest thing about that is the top 3 finishers of that award last night for the award were all foreign-born players. None of them were born in America. Basketball has become such an international game. We got lots more coming up tomorrow. Can't wait to get to it. Probably more basketball news as we're getting closer. There are some walk-ons to get to, and then we get closer to Derby this weekend. Appreciate you for joining us today. Cannot thank you enough. Thanks to John the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Until tomorrow, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.